Hello, I'm Caleb with Ortiz Roofing Contractors. This is Basic Roof Anatomy, Part 1. This first video pertains more to the actual parts of your roof as designed by the architect, perhaps, and not so much the materials used to cover that roof. Now, I like to start from the top down, roughly, and go over some common terminology that you may hear from your roofer. First would be the apex. The apex generally is the highest point of your roof or the highest point of a particular section of roof, and it is usually a ridge. So most likely, if your roofer is talking about an apex, he's talking about the highest ridge on your roof. A ridge is formed when two opposing, meaning they go the opposite direction, planes of roof meet. At the top, generally they'll meet in a horizontal ridge. Should be usually horizontal. That ridge may be covered with some type of ventilation, known as a ridge vent, or it may not. Now, in imagining those two roof planes that are opposing and meet at a ridge, as they span horizontal, if they just cut off, just stop, just like that, then the very end on each side of that roof plane would be known as a gable. Your gables must be installed with some consideration because that is a particularly vulnerable spot for uplift, which means that high winds might come, hit your gable, and tear some things off. So, if those two roof planes that are opposing and meet at a ridge, if they end instead of with nothingness, but instead they end meeting a third plane of roof, which connects the two, what you'll have there instead of a gable will be a hip. Your hips should be installed with consideration as well. Generally, on a shingle roof, it's quite common for roofers to take 3-tab style shingles, the what is now older style shingles, cut them into single tabs and install them on your hips as hip shingles. This is perfectly acceptable. However, today we have better options available that were designed specifically for that purpose. They are often thicker, stronger, and definitely look better. So you may ask your roofer what his plans are for your hips and what your options are for your hips. There is also a possibility of having a ventilation system installed on your hips. However, I find that to be quite rare. Moving along, where a roof or piece of roof extends out from a particular roof plane, we call that a dormer. And where that dormer meets said roof plane, what results is a valley. Valleys are very common culprits for roof leaks, and because of that, we take extra care in protecting them using what we call a valley bleeder. This may be an extra layer of underlayment installed. It may be a self-adhering, which we call peel and stick membrane installed in your valley, or it may be metal installed in your valley, or some combination of those, or other options that are available. At any rate, your roofer should pay special consideration when installing your valley. The actual material that your shingles, tiles, metal is affixed to, we would call your decking or your sheathing. This is generally wood, and in most places the minimum thickness would be a 1/2 inch. This is a common term used somewhat colloquially, but it actually refers to slightly less than a 1/2 inch. At any rate, This could be plywood, actual plywood. We may refer to it as CDX, or it could be OSB, oriented strain board, which is a bunch of pieces of wood glued together, creating a few layers. Generally, plywood is in most ways the stronger of the two. It's also slightly more expensive, usually. Your roof sheathing or decking could be a 1/2 inch, it could be 5/8 of an inch, it could even be 3/4 of an inch. Whatever it is, if your roofer intends to replace some of it, that roofer should replace it with like materials. Meaning if you've got plywood up there, say you've got 5/8 inch plywood up there, your roofer should replace any sheathing with 5/8 inch plywood, not OSB. If they use thinner sheathing, it may be noticeable, maybe not, but it is likely to cause problems in the future. It is also just bad practice. Now your sheathing is affixed to your rafters or your trusses. Now rafters and trusses are two different things, but for the purpose of this video, we'll lump them together and say that generally your sheathing is nailed to your rafters using ring shank nails, preferably. In many municipalities this is the code. Some places it isn't. Your rafters or trusses would be dimensional lumber installed vertically to which your sheathing is affixed, nailed or screwed. Now, where your roof terminates at the lowest end, this would be the eave of your roof, and generally will terminate with what we call fascia. Fascia may be installed vertically, or it may be installed at a 90-degree angle to your sheathing. This is a design difference, and there are advantages, but won't go into it. At either rate, your fascia could be wood, it could be cedar, which of course is wood. It could be wood covered with aluminum or PVC, vinyl. There are options here, but it's all fascia. Generally, if water is flowing down your roof plane, it would trickle down onto your fascia were it not for drip edge. Drip edge is a very important part of your roof, and its purpose is to direct water away from those building materials used to construct your roof. This means less rot, essentially. Now, if you're standing outside admiring the eave of your roof, there's almost always a section between the exterior wall of your home and the lowest point of your roof. As you're standing under that section, the eave, if you were to look straight up, you would most likely, hopefully, see soffit. Your soffit likely has a bunch of holes in it or a bunch of mechanical vents in it. This provides intake ventilation where air comes in from outside your home into your attic, ideally flows through your attic, brings moisture with it, and flows out through the exit ventilation, which should be somewhere higher than your intake ventilation. It could be in the form of ridge vent, maybe hip vent, could be off ridge vents, or could be solar powered or wired powered vents. Could be turbines, what we call whirlybirds. Any number of options here. It is important that your roofer take into consideration the square footage of your attic and the existing ventilation there, so that we know for sure that your attic is receiving enough ventilation. If it isn't, then the high temperatures or the extreme temperature changes would mean premature degradation or deterioration of the materials used to build and protect your roof. If you are in a particularly humid and or warm climate, a lack of attic ventilation will almost certainly result in the breeding of fungal bodies, mold, mildew, etc. You'll see these results evident in as little spots in your ceiling, or worse, your roofer should make sure that there's adequate ventilation. Okay, well, I think that that's enough for this video. If you have any questions, if there's something that I missed or did not explain thoroughly enough, I'll be happy to answer your questions. I hope that you found some value in this video. Whether you did or did not, I would love to hear about it in the comments, and I certainly thank you for watching. Again, I'm Caleb with Ortiz Roofing Contractors, and I'd be happy to help you in whatever way that I can. Thanks.